In May 2017, hospitals across the United Kingdom suddenly began turning away patients. Not because of a natural disaster, not because of a power outage, but because their computers were locked by a message demanding Bitcoin. This was the day the world met WannaCry. Within hours, ambulances were rerouted, surgeries were canceled, and doctors were forced back to pen and paper. In more than 150 countries, screens went red with the same chilling phrase, "Oops, your files have been encrypted." It looked like a simple pop-up. It was actually one of the most disruptive cyber attacks in history. WannaCry was a type of malware known as ransomware. Instead of just breaking your system, it holds your files hostage, encrypting everything and demanding payment for the key. But WannaCry was different. It didn't just infect one computer at a time. It spread like a digital plague, using a weapon originally built by the United States government. That weapon was called Eternal Blue, a powerful exploit created by the NSA. Eternal Blue targeted a vulnerability in Microsoft's Windows operating system, specifically in the way it handled a network protocol called SMB. In simple terms, it allowed an attacker to break into vulnerable computers over the network. No passwords, no tricks, just a direct backdoor. For years, Eternal Blue was a closely guarded secret used for intelligence and spying operations. Then, in 2017, a mysterious group calling themselves the Shadow Brokers leaked a collection of stolen NSA tools to the public. Among them was Eternal Blue. It was like releasing a military-grade missile launcher onto the open internet. Soon after, someone combined Eternal Blue with ransomware code and created WannaCry. The result was terrifyingly effective. The moment WannaCry landed on a vulnerable machine, it used Eternal Blue to scan the local network and spread to others. Then those computers scanned and spread further, and so on. One infected device could quickly lead to an entire organization being locked down. When the attack began on May 12, 2017, it moved fast. Within the first day, more than 200,000 computers were infected across the globe. Banks in Russia, railways in Germany, telecom operators in Spain, and factories in Asia all felt the impact. But the most visible and heartbreaking effect was on healthcare, especially the UK's National Health Service. Inside NHS hospitals, staff watched in disbelief as their screens were replaced with ransom notes. Patient records became inaccessible. Appointment systems went offline. Doctors couldn't look up test results or medical histories. Some hospitals told patients not to come in unless it was a life-threatening emergency, all because of a piece of code thousands of miles away. The ransom note demanded around $300 in Bitcoin per machine, threatening that the price would double after 3 days and that files would be lost forever after a week. Ironically, the criminals behind WannaCry didn't even build a proper system to track who paid. Many experts believe that even if victims sent the money, there was no guarantee they'd ever get their files back. As chaos unfolded, security researchers around the world scrambled to understand what was happening. One of them was a young British researcher named Marcus Hutchins, known online as Malware Tech. From his small bedroom setup, he began digging into the WannaCry code, trying to figure out how it worked and how to stop it. While analyzing the malware, Marcus noticed something strange: a long, random-looking web address hard-coded inside the program. It looked like a nonsense domain name. Curious, he did what malware analysts often do. He registered the domain to see what would happen. It cost him about $10. He had no idea that this ordinary action was about to change everything. The moment Marcus registered that domain, something unexpected happened. New WannaCry infections around the world started to slow down, then drop. Without realizing it, he had triggered a so-called kill switch built into the malware. If the malware could reach that specific domain, it assumed it was being analyzed in the sandbox and shut itself down. By making the domain real and reachable, Marcus had effectively pulled the plug on the global outbreak. Overnight, headlines called him a hero. A single researcher with a $10 domain registration had stopped one of the largest ransomware attacks in history. Governments and companies had spent billions on cybersecurity, but in that critical moment, it was one curious analyst and a lucky discovery that made the difference. But the story of WannaCry doesn't end with a simple hero narrative. A few months later, in August 2017, Marcus traveled to the United States for a security conference. At the airport in Las Vegas, he was arrested by the FBI. The charge: creating and selling an unrelated piece of banking malware years earlier, before he became known for stopping WannaCry. The cybersecurity community was stunned. The same person praised for halting a global ransomware attack was now facing prison for his past actions. Marcus eventually admitted he had written malware when he was younger, said he regretted it, and had since turned his skills toward defending systems instead of attacking them. A judge later spared him prison time, recognizing his role in stopping WannaCry and his efforts to change. Meanwhile, investigators tried to answer the bigger question: who was behind WannaCry? After months of analysis, governments including the United States and the United Kingdom publicly attributed the attack to North Korean state-sponsored hackers, commonly known as the Lazarus Group. According to them, WannaCry wasn't just a crime for profit, it was also a way for a heavily sanctioned regime to generate money and test its cyber capabilities. WannaCry left a trail of lessons behind. It exposed how dangerous it is when powerful cyber weapons are stockpiled and then leaked. It showed how many critical systems, hospitals, factories, transportation, still run outdated, unpatched software. And it proved that in a hyper-connected world, a single vulnerability can ripple into real-world consequences, from canceled surgeries to halted production lines. In the end, WannaCry made something very clear. Cybersecurity isn't just an IT problem anymore, it's a public safety issue. Keeping systems updated, patching vulnerabilities, and retiring outdated software can literally save lives. And for intelligence agencies, it raised a hard question. Is it worth keeping powerful exploits secret if losing control of them can put the entire world at risk? Today, WannaCry is mostly contained, but copies of the code still exist, and Eternal Blue continues to be reused in new attacks. The digital battlefield it revealed is still active, and the next global incident might already be in development. The difference now is that we know just how high the stakes are. So the next time you see a boring software update notification, remember the day hospitals turned patients away because of a ransomware pop-up and a $10 domain name helped stop a global crisis. If you want to dive deeper into how other cyber attacks have quietly shaped our world, subscribe and check out our next video. In cybersecurity, the most important stories are often the ones you never knew were happening.